right, so I will go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:31 p.m. on July 25th, 2023. Commissioners currently present, as you can see, are me, Fletcher, and Kristen. Erica did let us know that she was not going to be able to attend tonight. Just a note that this meeting is being held virtually, and if any unexpected technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, we will not be resuming and everything will be automatically continued at the next scheduled meeting date. As you heard, this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission, and if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. All right, and I'm not hearing any, so probably not. So the first item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes, July 11th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 11th minutes.
I will second that.
Motion to approve, seconded. Any further discussion? I didn't notice any glaring errors or anything when I looked through it.
Nothing from me.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote on approving the minutes. Kristen?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have a public hearing that was continued from the previous meeting. Notice of intent, bank stabilization at Green River Swimming Area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356. And Mitch, I believe you were in touch with them and they are good with continuing that again.
Yeah, they requested another continuation. They're still replying to Natural Heritage anyway, so.
Okay. And our next meeting is it the 8th? Is that our next meeting? It's the second Tuesday, right?
Yeah, the 8th.
Okay. So I was I was a little curious about this because Kristen is recusing herself from this project. So she wouldn't be able to vote to continue, I don't think.
I don't think you need a quorum to continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say I looked in the MACC handbook and it says a majority of the commissioners present have to vote to continue. So I think if Fletcher and I both voted to do that and Kristen abstained from the vote, that would still be a majority. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to continue. Hold on, let me bring that up again. Continue notice of intent, DEP file number 168356 to our August 8th meeting, which will be at 6:30 p.m.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other discussion on that? I don't think there is discussion on that. All right. So I'll do a roll call vote. Kristen
Abstain.
is abstain. Fletcher.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. So, all right. So that notice of intent will be continued at that public hearing will be continued at our next meeting. All right, we're flying through this agenda. So next, we've got 105 Newton Street, DEP file number 1680350, proposed changes to construction of 3 storage buildings. It's like Chris is here to talk about that one.
Yes, hi, Chris Chamberlain, civil engineer with Berkshire Design Group. Jess Schoendorf from our office was here last meeting talking about this project, and the project owner, Jim Boyle's on the call also. And as you'll recall, oops, sorry, I accidentally hit my mute button there as I was reaching for something. As you heard last meeting, this project, which was approved, I want to say in late fall or early winter by the commission, started construction and then some unknown subsurface conditions related to groundwater made it such that Jim would be taking on a huge risk by trying to construct the 2-story storage building that was proposed due to the quantity of water, which was, in excess of what anybody anticipated. And so we are in the process of redesigning the site with a smaller total square footage of, leasable area. You sort of got the rundown of where that project is going. And the current request from the commission is to just determine whether, based on sort of the information that we've presented, this project can be potentially, if it's all approved by the commission, potentially done as an amended order of conditions as opposed to a brand new NOI. And I understand there was some discussion about DEP guidance, which is provided to commissions over just this question. And there being 4 sort of points of criteria by which to determine whether the change is significant enough to require a new notice of intent. And, real quick, those are whether the purpose of the project has changed, whether the scope of the project has increased, whether the project meets relevant performance standards, and whether the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interests will be increased. And so my understanding of the conversation a few weeks ago was that the commission generally agreed that on the first 2 points that the project was eligible to do an amended order of conditions, and was potentially open to seeing the same on points 3 or 4, but required some additional information on that. And so shortly after that meeting, I submitted a letter that sort of went through all 4 points for the record, and also, specifically addressed in some detail points number 3 and 4. I can go through that stuff if all the commissioners have read through the letter. We can potentially just do questions on it, but I'm happy to proceed however you'd like to.
Yeah, and I just shared. Oh, am I muted? No, I just shared that. I was muted. I forgot I was muted. Yeah, so this was the letter that we received. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at it. But yeah, so number 1 there, whether the purpose has changed. I don't know if anyone has any questions off the bat, or I mean, maybe it'd be good if you just wanted to walk us through the ones that we were a little unsure about.
Sure. Yeah, okay, so question 3 is about performance standards. And so essentially what I've done here is looked at this new design and how we plan to present how it continues to meet the riverfront standards, because of course, under the local bylaw, we're in a riverfront zone, and certainly on this site, we're applying the redevelopment criteria, which is how the original project was approved. And so I'll just quickly go through each of those riverfront criteria. And so the first one, and I'm gonna pull my regs out just because I always write these letters showing just the answers, but sometimes I get confused on what the question was 2 weeks after I wrote it. So the first riverfront standard is to create an improvement upon existing conditions. And here we are continuing to have a reduction in total degraded area on the site. And we have existing work that runs practically right up to the edge of the stream. And in the proposed condition, all degraded area is going to be at least 25 feet or more from the stream. And then I didn't write this here, but then additionally in the existing condition, there is no stormwater management whatsoever. And we're building stormwater management that'll significantly improve both infiltration and water quality. The second point is that the project meets the stormwater standards. based on preliminary design, and we are still working on finalizing the stormwater design. We will probably still be working on it right up until the moment we submit our revised package to you. But I don't see anything that's going to prevent us from meeting the standards to the same extent we are now. I go into that a little bit in number 4, so I'll address that in just a little bit more detail in a second. Criteria C is about locating further from the stream than existing conditions. This one we continue to meet. Like I said, the existing alterations come right up to the edge of the stream bank, whereas proposed work is going to respect that the Greenfield standard 25-foot no disturb zone. So we're certainly further back than existing work in that case.
Can I just,
yes,
just to
please.
clarify, I'm pretty sure when you're saying existing conditions, you mean before any work is done on this project.
True,
and not,
yes.
Not the original NOI, existing approved plans.
Yes, so this is essentially a preview of how we will show that our new design is in compliance with the wetlands protection standards, in which we're redeveloping from the condition before we got on site earlier this year.
I just want to point that out because I think in the last meeting, we were talking past each other for a few minutes where some of us were saying existing as like what's on the ground and or
Sure.
existing as the approved plan.
Yeah, and so I believe the vocabulary I used here was I typically tried to say pre-development, but pre-development and existing meaning what the site was before the project started, and originally approved condition. Let's try to we'll try to manipulate the language on that one to keep it clearer.
Okay, thanks.
Condition performance standard D, proposed work shall be located outside the riverfront area or toward the riverfront boundary away from the stream, with a couple of exceptions. And so again, the entirety of this site is riverfront area, so it's impossible to be outside of the riverfront area and still construct a project. But as noted before, at a minimum, we are respecting the 25-foot no disturb, which is the locally imposed no disturb zone, and then to the extent that we can, while still meeting the goals of the project, we have tried to bring things further away from the stream, and the footprint of both the footprint of disturbance of this project is really driven by the demolition side because of the extensive alterations on the site. And so the total limit of work is really unchanged from what has been approved. Standard E is the area of proposed work shall not exceed the amount of degraded area, with the exception that there are some carve-outs for restoration and mitigation. And I know that this one was something that we just wanted some specific clarity on. And so I did provide this table breaking out the existing condition, the original proposal, and the current proposed. And so while the square footage of building space that we're proposing is reduced significantly because of the need to provide those as single-story buildings and with exterior access, there is additional paving that's required to provide access to all of those buildings. So compared to the originally approved plan, there is more degraded area at the end of the job than had been proposed in the original NOI. However, there will still be a reduction. We will not exceed the existing condition from the beginning of the project for degraded area. And again, as I mentioned, total disturbance is unchanged from originally proposed and approved. And then F deals with restoration, and the approach here is really unchanged. The limits and locations of where restoration is going to occur have changed, but at a high level, there is going to be a limited amount of sort of formal lawn area at the front of the site to dress things up along the street, primarily between the buildings and pavement and the street. And then all the other areas are being proposed to be planted with a conservation seed mix of native species. I don't remember what we spec, but it's from New England wetland plants. That's all of the edges between the proposed work and the stream and wetland areas. We'll get that native seed minimally maintained. And then we're going to continue to have the sort of restoration area that we had proposed at the north of the site with a little bit more robust plantings with some native shrubs and some trees. If you'll recall, that's that area where the building, the old rug building itself, went right up to the edge of the wetlands. That building has come down, and that area is slated to be, sort of totally restored in that extra sensitive 25-foot area with native species and a little bit more robust planting. G is about mitigation, which we are not pursuing because our proposed project does not exceed the existing degraded area. And standard H is just the notice that the Conservation Commission has the issuing authority shall include a continuing condition prohibiting future alteration within a restoration and mitigation areas, with a few exceptions. And so that's the Commission's power. We have no say over that, but we're noting that we understand that that'll still be true. And then I quickly note that while under the local bylaw, we're in riverfront, under the state bylaw, this is a buffer project, but the standards for riverfront are generally accepted to be higher than the standards for buffer. So, if we continue to comply with the riverfront standards, I'd say that we pretty clearly comply with buffer standards. And so then point 4 is whether the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interests will be increased. And so this one is a little bit in the same vein as number 3 and a little bit more broad. So the way I broke this down a little bit to look at it in a couple of ways. So again, under both designs, disturbed and degraded areas are located outside the city standard 25-foot. I've said that a couple of times already. And we're revegetating with native seed mix. So that sort of perimeter area that separates our project from the wetland resource area, we're still proposing this to treat that the same way, to have the same minimum offsets. We're still going to be trying to ensure that we're catching that snow pile into areas where sediments can settle out, and we're still going to be putting in that sort of renaturalized buffer with natives between the work and the resource area. And sort of the other, probably the largest impact on resource areas on the existing site is stormwater. In the existing condition, you've got building and paved areas and compacted gravel and all sorts of disturbance that runs off straight into the stream. In the approved plans, we implemented a stormwater management system that captures virtually all of the impervious area and either treats it for water quality or treats it and infiltrates it, and also avoids direct discharges to the resource areas. And really the only areas that drain directly to the stream are now the vegetated, revegetated areas. And I want to say that we have almost no untreated discharges from impervious surfaces on the site, with the possible exception of one of the small buildings to the south. The proposed stormwater management system is going to have some adjustments, but it's going to work very similar. We're still going to have an underground infiltration system in the part of the site where the soils are good. We're going to, as noted here, we're going to need to increase it because we've got more impervious area than was proposed in the approved plan. So I've shown here what the sort of additional water quality volume associated with that additional proposed impervious area is, and I'm very confident that we're going to be able to increase the infiltration system to provide that additional water quality volume. And then we're going to continue to capture most of the pavement on the site and treat it through the storm scepter water quality units. We're going to continue to have a rain garden at that north end of the site where the soils are poorer to capture the impervious area and then under drain that to the city system. We're going to adjust the sizing, but I haven't seen anything yet that's going to prevent us from essentially meeting the same benchmarks in terms of peak flow attenuation, amount of water infiltrated, and water quality. And sort of the caveat to all of this is, if I show you all that that is true after the system is designed, then I think we would pretty confidently say that our level of impact from stormwater on this site is equivalent to what's already been approved. And then just as a wrap up sentence, essentially saying what I just did, so I won't say it again.
That was going to be my question, Chris, is you've rerun some of the calculations, but haven't generated a new stormwater report, or?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we are actually just the last couple of days, we were getting close to a final grading plan. Yeah, and as you say, ran some initial stuff. I don't see any red flags, but drainage design's an iterative process, so it's going to be ongoing for a little bit still.
Okay.
Well, thank you for putting together this letter. I think this is very helpful. At least I feel like it is. I think one of the things in the last meeting, I think I was kind of hung on number 4, whether the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interest will be increased, and especially with the, you know, the amount of the extra pavement that there would be, and how it's actually increasing the degraded area compared to the original proposed. But I think something in my head just clicked while you were like doing this presentation, and now now the way I'm reading this is the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interests. And so if it sounds like, let me think how to word this. If it sounds like the approved plan and this plan are both, they're both redevelopment and should be improving over existing conditions, then it's not adding any adverse impacts, but perhaps we would say it's not giving as many beneficial impacts. Like it's not as beneficial, but that doesn't mean it's, the way I'm reading it right now is like, it's, the potential for adverse impacts would be like, if, we're changing the plan and now we have to pave over, this 50 feet of wetlands that we weren't going to pave over before, actually having adverse impacts instead of, we have to reduce our rain garden size. So it's, it's still going to be better than it was, but it's just not going to be as good as it was. And I guess I feel like now that
less improvement as opposed to more
adverse
impact.
yeah. So
So-
that's kind of how I'm feeling.
It depends on what it's referencing there. We don't have to answer 100% emphatic yes to every one of these questions for us to to move the project forward. But I say that because I think the way I'm reading this is it's saying the amended conditions versus the proposed project, or amended project versus the proposed project. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I hear what
whether
you're
it
saying
would
with
have
potential for
extra-
adverse impacts.
Yeah.
But 7,000 square feet of impervious next to a wetland system is potentially adverse with a strong event that overwhelms the drainage, but not, it's not a huge. Well, I don't even know.
Yeah, and
But-
that's to the inner 100, that's the inner riparian zone. My question is, how are you beefing up the the restoration or mitigation to compensate for that additional 7,000 square foot within the inner riparian zone?
I'll just
Like
say,
what-
oh,
what's
sorry,
ch-
go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, what's changed from the original submittal that will kind of sweeten the pot to compensate for that, to offset that additional?
Yeah, I think that it would be fair. So our original plan focused all of our real restoration effort, because of course we reseed everything on the backside of the property, but the real restoration area was limited to the northern end of the site. So I think that in reflection of the fact that we now have a relatively small reduction, a very small reduction in degraded area versus the existing condition, I think it's fair to continue extending that restoration area around. So if, let me see if I can, instead of waving my mouse where you can't see it, if let me see.
Well, if you have plans that you want to share, I don't
I have the
the-
same ones. How about I do it and then I can point to
Yeah,
things
yeah,
just a
that
little bit
works.
more clearly.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Good. So in the originally proposed project, all the planting was focused on this buffer here with the shrubs and the trees, and all of this area was just reseed with natives. I think in light of the fact that we now don't have the major decrease in degraded area that we were proposing for before, it would be reasonable to then increase the extent and impact of the sort of enhanced restoration planting, which we can easily continue. If we were focused on this area before, we can round the corner behind the site over here. And, there's also lots of area that, while it's not wetland, is pretty sensitive down in this area that, again, I think was just slated for native seed restoration. I think that we can certainly increase our true restoration area in light of the fact that our degraded area is also increasing relative to the approved plan.
Do you mean by increasing like a planting schedule? So
Yes.
instead of just seed, it would be shrubs, maybe wildlife habitat?
Exactly. And again, we had some shrubs and trees in this area. I'm saying that we would do more of that in a more expansive area, working off of sort of conceptually what we had in the original proposal.
I personally consider that a benefit. I think shade management to mitigate thermal loading is a huge benefit, particularly for this reach, and anything that's going to produce like a keystone species for wildlife habitat, viburnums, cornice, those kinds of things. They're really low maintenance. They're essentially plugs, and they're keystone wildlife habitat species. And I think shade trees would be hugely beneficial.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned plugs. One thing that I've been doing recently on some of these projects where we're really close in the buffer is going with very small plants and planting a lot of them, so that down the road, things are a little bit more robust than they might be by just putting in a handful here and there. Of course, at the same time, we do have woods surrounding us, so that's going to want to tend to creep in also.
Yeah, I said plugs. Oopsie, I meant essentially like willow stakes. So the cornice, I mean, you can
Yes.
stick a stick in the ground and it'll grow into a new shrub. They're really,
That's,
it's like alder. They'll just take off. They're so
Yeah.
easy. You don't have to worry about massive failures. It's not very fussy.
yeah, that's exactly what we've done. A project in Richmond that's just about wrapping up, and another one that Jim is proposing down in Southwick is we've got a long linear wetland, and we're just proposing a ton of willow stakes. I think we've got some oaks in there too on those projects. And I don't know, I'm curious to see how those are going to look in 5 or 10 years, but I'm pretty optimistic that that'll be a nice way to really get a big impact over time, as opposed to a showy impact that maybe isn't as much on on day one.
I personally prefer the cornice over the salix just because of the wildlife habitat, just because it produces berries and a lot of the songbirds really like the dogwood fruits.
Sure.
Both are really easy though. It's like in alder too. They're really easy to establish. You're not going to see massive failures. They're not, like doing, I don't know, ilex or something that can just, or highbush blueberry, which, sounds great. Everyone loves highbush blueberry, but they can be a little fussier.
Right. Yeah, and I'll say I am not the one in the office who picks the plants. So I'm throwing out something, not necessarily saying that it's the right choice for this site.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. Are the existing conditions within that inner riparian zone very unvegetated? Are there existing trees there right now? Is this lacking shade or are there?
There's not much, along this edge, the woods have crept in a little bit, but the interior of the site, it was really degraded all over.
I mean, saplings can be fussy, but to mitigate thermal loading, I think shade trees would also be really good.
Yeah.
my
Yeah, and I
opinion.
think, we may look, you can see where the woods line is today, so this seems on the southern side, ripe for doing a little bit of work. And yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at it. Like I said, we've got landscape architects. I'm a little out of my element saying, hey, we're going to put some trees and plants here.
Before the other commissioners jump in, I just want to kind of finish with that thought. So my personal opinion is, I can agree that overall this is an increase from the original proposal, but I still think that we have an opportunity to overall meet the standards. I think if the mitigation is a little bit beefed up and we have native species, I'd like to see kind of a rough list of what the surrounding trees and shrubs look like so that you can try to match that, but with native species. And I would like to see a focus on keystone wildlife habitat. So, berry producers, mast producers, and things that are going to increase thermal loading mitigation. But that's just my personal opinion.
So this parcel is just right next to the one with the cell tower that's going up. Is that right for the other commissioners?
It's either right next to it or 2 parcels away. It's right around the corner.
Okay.
I don't know if someone owns a parcel in between. Yeah, and Chris, I think both this plan and the originally approved plan, all of the impervious surfaces are within the area that was degraded originally. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'll have to check, but I believe that is still true. You can sort of see, I believe this is the outline of the old building right here.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to see on this plan. I saw something that said limit of disturbance, but I think that's for construction, maybe.
Yeah, and I don't think it's literally true that every square foot of pavement was on top of degraded area, but there's a balance because there's areas like this where there's, I think this was the old road bed that ran through here that ran way out, so that gets restored, but I think we're probably a little bit outside of the existing limit here. I think our honestly, the big improvement is there's a ton of this degraded area that goes right up to the edge of the resource area, and all of that is removed, which is sort of balancing out some of the places more interior where we're in it.
Chris, can you? Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I'd rather hear your question.
Oh, all right. I was just going to ask, I think I asked this before, but I just want you to remind me, there is no foundation, like there's no underground flood storage, displacement. This is a single story above ground construction.
This will all be single story slab on grade.
Okay, that makes me hugely relieved too.
Except for the basins, right? Like the stormwater management. No, that doesn't count as a
Oh, true.
Basement
Yeah,
flow.
there's going to be underground infiltration, but that's obviously above seasonal groundwater.
Oh, right, okay. Chris, I was just gonna ask if you could take, are there any areas along the sort of margin of the wetland there where you don't see, sort of enhanced plantings being desirable from your perspective for some project management reason, or is it sort of like anywhere along that wetland?
I think nothing jumps out at me. I mean, I think right now there, well, a lot of these areas in the sort of 25-foot boundary that we have drawn in here are not technically degraded. They're
Mhm.
not in good shape. It's grass or weeds or what have you. So I think that, well, in the original plan, we focused on this area because we've literally got building running right up against the wetlands. This seemed like a home run to improve. There are plenty of places here where what's existing is not an enhancement to the sort of natural ecology of the resource area. And I don't see anything where it would be a problem to be planting. You can see the fence line, which I'm pretty sure is right on top of where it was originally proposed, runs right here. Jim has no intention of doing anything beyond that fence line, aside from ensuring that the bittersweet and multiflora rose doesn't take over back there.
Got it.
Well, and I guess, if they're coming back for an amended order of conditions, or if they have to file an NOI, either way, I feel like, that's when we'd be getting into all these nitty-gritty details.
Yes, you're
guess
not approving the project tonight. We're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
asking whether it seems reasonable based on what
Yeah.
we've presented, and if we back that all up with our
Mhm.
submission, that the commission could consider an amended order of conditions.
Yeah. I guess I feel like I'm there on saying that I think this is, we could approve
Yeah.
them filing for an amended order of conditions.
With the especially with the additional plantings in restoration area, I think, or enhancement, maybe restoration is not the right word, but I think that could definitely work, given that despite the increase in impervious / degraded.
I agree. So are we ready to motion? Should I?
Yeah, I think we should make a motion just so it's like an official decision.
So pending, should I say pending a final stormwater report and mitigation / restoration proposal, depending on whether it's degraded or other riverfront area development.
Well,
Yeah, and I would jump in there just because the riverfront standards have specific definitions for restoration and mitigation, which really only apply if you're increasing the degraded area, and so we are technically decreasing the degraded area. I think as an improvement upon existing conditions is what we're doing, the enhancement.
So it's all restoration. There is no mitigation, is what you're saying.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
Because we are reducing the total amount of what is defined as degraded under the riverfront standards.
Okay, so thank you for helping me with that, Chris. So, because I couldn't remember exactly.
Yeah.
That table on E was so dense. So I guess pending a final stormwater reanalysis and I guess more formal restoration plan for degraded riverfront area, I would be okay with an amended order of conditions for the existing NOI.
I'll second that. I guess I'm confused at the motion.
yeah.
Not because of, wait, you said, Kristen, but just in general, what are we?
Yeah, so I think tonight all we're doing is saying
We're really just looking for guidance.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
so going back to the Wetlands Program Policy 85-4 by DEP, if the Conservation Commission determines that a new notice of intent is not necessary, that's the next step actually. Basically, all we're doing is determining whether the requested change is great enough to warrant a filing of a new notice of intent, or whether it is of a relatively minor nature and can be considered as an amendment to the original final order of conditions. So all we're doing is saying, yes, you can file an amendment on your order of conditions, or no, you need to file a new NOI. And then either way, they're going to have to come back for a public hearing, and then we'll have to go into all the details and get the new stormwater report. So I don't think this vote should actually be like pending on a stormwater report and planting plans or anything. This is just like, yes, you can do an amended order of conditions, and then they have to come back and present all that stuff at a public hearing.
Mhm.
So I would
Okay.
just make a
Yeah,
make a friendly amendment to strike the pending the stormwater report and planting plan.
Yeah, I mean, one suggestion is you could say the changes to the project as presented are consistent with the DEP guidance for doing an amended order of conditions. So then you're not actually approving anything, but just saying that based on what I told you, if I show you that it's true, that it meets the requirements that DEP has set for doing an amendment.
I like that. That's good language. Are you on a conservation commission, Chris?
Whately's tried to put me on the planning board a few times because I spend most of my time there, but no, I've dodged bullets so far.
Okay, so so it sounds like we're okay with the motion being that the project as presented is does appear to meet DEP's guidelines for an amended order of conditions, and we're giving them permission to file for an amended order of conditions, and they do not need to file a new NOI.
sounds good to me.
Yes, and the wetland file number, I think, is 168.350. I was really slow getting that up. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other discussion on that before we vote on it? Okay, so we will vote on allowing them to file an amended order of conditions. Fletcher,
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye. So you have our approval to file an amended order of conditions.
Thank you, appreciate it. Obviously, we did not want to waste a whole lot of time going down the wrong road. So this is helpful guidance.
All right, thanks for going through all those details with us.
Yes.
And that gets us a head start when we come back with the real evidence.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, and we'll see you soon.
All right, have a good night. Okay, so next we have on the agenda, any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda. I'm guessing maybe there's an emergency order.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
we have
boy.
3 emergency certs.
That's it.
That's it so far.
There were like 24 in Deerfield when I went to a site walk with the Deerfield Concom last week
Wow.
on
Oh,
Friday.
man.
Yeah, they have
Yeah, we
bad.
got
Franklin County is bad.
Yeah.
I think we have someone here from DOT. We can start there.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Billy Lee.
Hello.
I'm the Mass DOT District 2 environmental engineer. I actually, right before this meeting, sent Mitchell over the emergency certification request for some Mass DOT improvements on Route 2 off of Adams Road, so right over the Fall Brook, not Fall River, Fall Brook crossing. And Mitchell actually signed that, so we have the executed emergency certification. So work has kind of been ongoing since the storm, just like emergency stabilization of the embankments, but essentially what happened at that location was obviously severe storm events and flooding caused erosion on the eastbound side of Route 2, very proximate to the Fallbrook Road Stream crossing. There was an embankment failure, so the immediate emergency repair there was just backfilling the embankment. So the proposed work in this emergency certification request is the secondary emergency work now that the storms have somewhat subsided, to go in and do fine grading. And then there was riprap in that area before, so they'll just be replacing in kind with geotextile and modified riprap. Another issue kind of still in development at that site is a sinkhole. When I was out in the field yesterday morning, it wasn't too big, but then somebody else from our environmental section went out and checked on it again today. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. And that sinkhole has grown a little bit more. So we're going to be doing some exploration work there, which is just going to involve saw cutting the road in that area. It's right underneath a guardrail post in the shoulder. There might have to be like a lane closure in that area to do that work. And then they'll excavate down to the structure, find whatever failures going on in that culvert, do a patch repair, backfill, and then put hot mix asphalt just for any road repairs that are needed for that sinkhole. So that might develop into something bigger, but that exploration work is just needed for the emergency repair and to kind of get a full scope of that issue. So that's what's going on Route 2. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to say I didn't know I signed it. I just thought I opened it. I don't know
Oh,
if it's
yes.
auto sign.
Yes, I believe you signed it. Yeah, I'm hoping that's okay. But yeah,
Yeah, and sorry if I could just, I think the way these can work is that the conservation agent can sign it and then the work
Yes.
can begin, and
Yes.
then it comes to the Conservation Commission and we have to ratify it or approve it or
Right,
whatever
correct. Yep. So it's a little convenient
afterwards.
that I was able to hop onto this call tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe that's how it works as well.
So yeah, so I mean, it sounds like Mitch, once you signed it, whether you thought you were signing it or not, they could start the work at that point. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions on? I can go back up to the beginning of the letter too.
I'm just checking on, so there's, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Billy, but there's the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative. It's NAACC, and they work with UMass and a couple other, liaisons, and they mostly focus on aquatic connectivity issues.
Yep.
Sometimes it's infrastructure, but mostly it's for aquatic connectivity, and they do culvert assessments, and if there's a need for an upgrade, say it's a perched culvert or it's an undersized culvert or it's a misaligned culvert, they put this in the queue, and then it gets kind of queued up for some municipal funding or some kind of thing. I was just double checking to make sure that's not in their database, because if you're doing a replacement in kind of anything, I just wanted to make sure that it's not already in their queue as being earmarked for something that needs to be upgraded. Have you? I'm not seeing it, but I haven't had a chance to dig in yet. Have you double checked that?
I actually am familiar with the NAC. I used to do culvert assessments for that database in my old job. I'm a very big fan of that database. I actually haven't checked specifically for that. I would definitely say, given what's happened in this storm event, that's an undersized culvert. So we will absolutely be investigating all of that. Depending on, what the situation is at hand, like if a replacement is needed, we'll evaluate all those alternatives. But at this point, we just don't know. So we'll have to do that exploratory work through the sinkhole to find kind of what damage is done to that pipe. But the work included in this emergency certification wouldn't be a replacement or anything like that. If that were to happen, we would come through with a complete NOI. This is just to kind of do the exploration work of the sinkhole, define the problem, and then do patchwork as necessary.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. And
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks for supporting NAC in a previous life.
Oh yeah, I really love road stream crossings and climate resiliency. So happy to be at
Perfect.
Mass DOT. It's a good place to have those passions.
All right, so I don't know, Fletcher, did you have any questions or?
Not on that one.
If we don't have any questions, I think we should make a motion to ratify the emergency certification.
I think Mark had mentioned not to do emergency certs, that just kind of say repairs as needed. You know, do whatever it takes, kind of like get the specifics.
Mhm.
No, I'm gonna share this again.
So Mitch, are you referencing like the exploration of the sinkhole and what it could sort of turn into, or as far as sort of a
Yeah, I mean, I guess
non-specific?
I
I
feel
guess
like
just
this
making sure it's
one,
not a blanket approval.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like this one does say what the work will include: saw
Okay.
cutting the road,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
excavation, a failing drainage structure, patch and repair the structure, backfilling. I feel like that's more detailed than it could be, where they just say,
Yeah.
the road has collapsed and we'll figure out what to do, So I feel like that. I feel like that is detailed enough for me.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
right, I'll-
signed it
I'll-
anyway.
I'll make a motion to ratify the emergency certification for DOT on Route 2 for the Fall Brook culvert.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on ratifying the emergency certification. Fletcher,
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye, so that certification is ratified.
Wonderful. Thank you all
Right.
so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
actually looking now and I'm realizing that I think I got an email notification from Adobe that it was sent to Mitch, so it has not been signed yet. I apologize.
Okay.
Mitch, you're not losing it.
I'm sorry for that confusion. I feel so bad too because I didn't realize that Mitch was a conservation agent at first because I got
yeah.
looking at the website. But so indeed, Mitch did not sign that. But Mitch, if you do sign it, then we should all be set in terms of having it issued on our end.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you all so much.
All
I hope
right,
you have a
thank
good
you.
evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, do we have some others to go through here then?
Yeah, there's one from DPW I can pull up.
Yeah, if you want to share that. I just saw on Facebook this evening, right before our meeting, that Route 2 eastbound is going to be closed just past where that work that we just approved is in Gill. I didn't say for how long. Anyway.
Yeah, so this person is stuck. There's another house on the left.
Is that a named stream?
It's a perennial stream. I don't know the name.
What's the address?
This
Again?
is 7 Newell Pond. And this is what DPW is proposing.
And is that's like a town road? It's not just like a driveway, right?
I mean, it just,
Or do we know?
I guess it's public that DPW is doing it, but it just
Yeah.
leads to these 2 houses.
Yeah, probably just a little spur of a road with 2 little driveways, I guess.
I will say some of the NAC projects that I've worked on have been private drives, and I mean, the way they consider priority sites is not necessarily whether it's on a public road, but whether it's in like outstanding resource water, or an area of critical environmental concern, or priority habitat, or headwater stream to a drinking water supply, or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm still gonna look it up.
So yeah, they were going to do erosion controls, remove old pipes, install two 30-inch reinforced concrete pipes, 25% embedded, backfill with bank run gravel, place a 2.5-inch binder course with 1.5-inch top course of hot mix asphalt, and reestablish lawn areas with loam and seed.
What's the existing pipe diameter? I mean, is that a replacement in kind?
24.
Wait, what's the diameter? Is it 30-inch to 30-inch, or
It's 24 to 30.
oh, 24 to 30? Thank you. That's right. I thought you said 184.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I thought he said too.
That's what we need.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 184.
Just curious, like what the bank full is, and if that does meet stream crossing standards or doesn't meet stream crossing standards. So as a reminder, the Massachusetts stream crossing standards generally require open bottom when possible and 1.2 times bank full width. And I'm just curious if a 30-inch is going to be sufficient.
Did we say this was a name stream?
I can't find it on Google Maps. I'm going to Mass Mapper.
This was one I was in an email. Mark Stinson was emailing about whether there were any emergency issues in Greenfield, and this was one that he said was a perennial stream when Mitch sent it.
So that means it will be mapped on the USGS topographic map.
Mark said perennial stream, not within NHESP. You can require an upgrade during the emergency permit process. Probably want to maintain existing invert elevations.
Existing what?
Invert elevations.
Looks like it's Millbrook, like a tributary of Millbrook.
Oh, it's a tributary to Millbrook.
Well, I mean, I'm just going by the labeling on Mass Mapper, but yeah, it doesn't appear to be
Oh yeah.
labeled.
Is it on the USGS topo? I don't see it on the USGS topo. But Mark must have run a stream stats.
Hmm.
What the heck? Mill Pond Road. I have to run a stream stats. I'm sorry.
Or is it McCard Brook? And it just sort of joins with Mill for a moment. It's hard to tell.
Fletcher, did you pull up the topo on Mass Mapper?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Is there a solid blue line?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? I must be in the wrong place then.
It's just upstream of Newell Pond.
What's the exact address?
I think it's
Hmm.
7 Newell Pond Place.
Newell Pond Place.
Oh, I'm on Newell Pond Road. That's why. That will do it. It's in the wrong place. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Never mind. I see it. Definitely perennial. Does have a name.
Yeah, so Mark said can require an upgrade, which, I mean, it sounds like they are proposing and upgrade, whether it's upgraded enough, I don't know, but it does sound like they want to put in a bigger culvert, so that's good at least.
Total of a foot more in diameter, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Well, I recognize that they're kind of in a jam. It would just be nice to see that upgraded to a place that isn't going to come back before us in a year with all these
Mhm.
climate
Mm.
change storm events.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mitch, did you see on the site visit, was it clear how it failed? In other words, like from the way we've been talking, I'm assuming the culvert was sort of undermined, crushed, something like that. But did you see anything to indicate that it failed differently than that, or was the did it seem like the culvert got overwhelmed?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, there is something on NAC.
It's weird because in the pictures it just looks like, oh, maybe that's where it comes out. Oh, I see them now. Okay, there they are.
Can you imagine how much water was coming through there?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think a bridge would be the treatment here. But look at those little culverts down there on one of the pictures of the site visit there. Still submerged.
Yeah, go back one more. Down there,
Sure.
yeah.
There is a report on the NAC website, and it's for Newell Pond Place. There's a lat long. I have a feeling it's this culvert. So it has been already identified as a culvert needing to be replaced. And they say crossing connects two ponds. They said it's a 2-lane road, so maybe it's on the road, not the driveway. Does it go across?
Yeah, I think that's technically a road. Like looking at it on Google Maps, like
Yeah.
it looks like there's technically a road there, and then it's a driveway after that.
Mhm.
They say that there's got to be bankful, I'm sure, on this, and we could always do a stream stat skip bankful. And classified. Comments inside a portion of the bridge structure. 3 not embedded metal pipes side by side. That sounds about right. So
3 of them.
it's 3 pipes. And what was the proposal? They wanted to replace with 2?
Well, they say there's 2 existing.
Oh.
It does look like that in the picture.
Well, I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted to point out that it sounds like this is the same site and it's been identified for grant funding to be replaced and upgraded.
Hmm.
Well, it'd be
I
good to
don't
let
know.
them know.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes any difference if there's an emergency certification that's been ratified that will increase its priority in that queue. I'm not sure how it works.
Hmm.
Now I'm curious though. I want to see what the thankful is.
So I did the stream stats for that. What were you looking for?
Bankful, the stream bankful width.
Bankful width, 11.1 feet, it says.
Okay, so then that 30 inches isn't going to cut it.
That's what it says.
So, it's possible that's wrong, but I think it would need to be a minimum of 13.5 feet. So it would need to be like a bridge or box culvert. So I think a 30-inch reinforced pipe or two 30-inch reinforced pipes, it's still going to be undersized. That's just my opinion. I'm not an engineer. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard because it's like, this is like an emergency thing where these people can't get to their houses. So
Yeah.
it might be easy to plop a couple concrete, things in there and rebuild a road. And maybe it'd be more difficult for a better, like a bridge. I definitely think a bridge would probably be a lot more difficult
Yeah, or
in
even
an
a
emergency
culvert,
situation.
or like a galvanized steel arch culvert or something. I mean, you could do a 14-foot galvanized steel arch culvert, couldn't you? Again, I'm not an engineer. That sounds logical to me, but I don't really know.
I think we could probably send them these notes along with the sort of ratification if we do that.
Yeah, that it's been kind of put in the queue for the NAC database, and that according to stream stats, which isn't always perfect, it sounds like it's going to be very undersized. See what they think.
Yeah.
But you're saying we would send those, but also approve what they've, approve an emergency certification for the 30-inch pipes, but say like, oh, well, it'd be good if you did more, basically.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah, I wouldn't want
inadequate.
to hold up the ability to
For these people to get to
access-
their houses.
Yeah, or to get food, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's hard to see in the pictures. It almost looks like it's an open culvert or open, just like a clear underpass of a bridge, but it must just be one of the pictures. This is like the culverts
Okay.
must start under the further in, I guess is what I'm saying.
What are they going to do? Are they going to put down those kind of construction mats, swamp mats kind of thing, and build a bridge over it? Like, how are they actually how are they crossing that stream right now? Does anyone know?
I don't know. I mean, there's only like 2 houses back there, so maybe they just jumped over it and they're staying at someone else's house right now. I don't know.
Rent a car, keep it on the road.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're getting through it at all right now with a
Right.
vehicle.
2x6s down there.
Mitch, do you know, so is this one that you've already approved, or do we need to approve this one?
I signed it. Just needs ratification.
Okay, so this one just needs ratification too.
Well, I'll make a motion to ratify the emergency condition for Newell Pond Place culvert and roadway repair, and also to send notes about the NAC information and the potential for future undermining if things aren't enlarged.
I will second that.
All
with
right, so-
encouragement to not necessarily meet stream crossing standards because it's an emergency, but make it so that you won't necessarily need to do another emergency order in a year.
Hmm,
Yep.
all right. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, so we'll vote on ratifying that emergency certification and sending that additional information. Fletcher,
Hi.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, I'm also an aye, so that one is ratified. Do we have another one, Mitch?
Yeah, there's one more.
Okay,
I'll pull it up.
You have the address for that one handy?
That one is 64 Scout Road.
Thank you. And that is a personal driveway.
Yeah, it just leads to just that one house. So we said replace damaged culvert and washed out driveway, new 48-inch culvert, bring the grade up, sloping and riprapping the banks along the way.
Doesn't say the current size.
Yeah, no,
Anywhere?
I just got this. I figured we would need
Oh, okay.
more information from him. So I could sign this tomorrow. We just kind of figure out what we might need today.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
These are
this kind
remarks
of go,
notes.
yeah. That's what I was wondering. Fire department, police department, building inspector, board of health can declare the emergency. I think because it's a private driveway, one of those has to declare an emergency for us to approve an emergency certification.
Fire department declared the emergency.
Okay, all right, I just didn't see that, so,
No, I had to give him a call.
okay. But we don't have an emergency certification like form filled out or anything? Or
No, I just
we just
asked
have that
for
email?
like the narrative.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd be great to know what the existing culvert diameter is and if it was and sort of how it failed, whether it was, rusted out and already impaired and was destroyed here, if it was just totally overwhelmed. But I mean, all three of these have definitely met that final sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then is something to require embedded 25%.
yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer on this
Is
either.
that like
I mean,
a
just something that he's
subsurface embedding or like?
That's what yeah, does that mean it's like embedded?
The stream bed,
So
essentially.
so that the stream bed, so that there's like a natural bottom stream bed inside the culvert,
Hmm.
because 25% of the culvert's under the stream bed.
That's what I
I mean, it
guess.
seems like that would just reduce reduce the volume that can flow through the culvert,
Right.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is he doesn't want it to be perched. Which
Yeah.
creates maybe aquatic disconnection.
Yeah.
I'm
And
running
that's
a
what they,
screen, it's running really slow.
that's what they said on the last one, is embedded 25%.
It looks like a pretty small watershed. It's a tributary to the Fall River, not the Fall Brook.
So this one, it sounds like so I guess it sounds like our options are either Mitch gets more information, and then if he's satisfied, issues it, and then at our next meeting, we would ratify it. Or we could like issue it tonight if we feel like we have enough information.
Yeah, why don't we
add
have,
any conditions?
Yeah, and if we want any conditions about embedding at 25% or using
More erosion
Uh,
controls, whatever.
erosion control, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, if Mitch got those few pieces of info, and was satisfied, we could, like you said, ratify it at the next meeting. That would work for me. But yeah, as far, as I have suggestions as far as special conditions, of course, erosion control is always good to remind people about and make suggestions.
I don't know like how much we can require a reduction in riprap, but I do hate hard armor structures.
Mhm.
You know, if it's a private driveway, I don't think they can afford to do super high and expensive bioengineering stuff like J-hooks and embedded tree revetments, but I don't know. I hate riprap.
So,
It didn't seem like it would be a ton of riprap, like from the photo. I don't know. I mean, it didn't look like it was super tall, I guess is what I was thinking.
By the way, the first stream stats I ran had no data, so I had to go slightly further downstream, which is just maybe at the end of the driveway and then to the east, maybe 100 feet. So this is slightly exaggerated watershed area. It says it has a watershed area of 0.17 square miles, which means it is definitely not perennial, and an estimated bankful width of 8.4 feet. Which could be skewed since I had to go slightly further downstream.
so what details would we want Mitch to confirm to issue the emergency cert? I would just say that the diameter is, I'd like to say bigger, but the same or bigger, and
Yeah.
and that they plan on using erosion controls as needed would be the two for me.
I think the yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing. Those
Yeah.
The perching maybe.
Yeah, the embeddedness of the culvert, and but also, I mean, can we like strongly recommend a critical eye on the sizing so they don't just
Yeah.
come back with another blowout? I mean, if they're going to replace it in kind, which they're legally allowed to do, it doesn't seem like it's going to work.
Imagine the city must have a database of of emergency events like this, when it comes to roads and stuff, it'd be great to have data from that if they do. But, you know, this happened 3 years ago.
Mm.
Probably
And
not.
even if StreamStats is wrong and it's not 8.5 feet, say it's 6 feet, the culvert would still need to be, you know, more than a pipe. I don't know.
Well, so yeah, why don't we divide it up into, you know, things we need for the emergency cert and then suggestions. And go with
Yeah,
that.
that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we write a letter with suggestions just saying we recommend you review the stream stats and consider the mass stream crossing standards, try to maintain compliance with that, and
Mhm.
consider these in your upgrade and repair. I guess that's really all we can do.
Yeah, and the erosion control part as well as a reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we saying we need erosion control and same size or bigger?
Mhm.
And what do we think about embedding at 25%? Is that a need or a want?
But
Anyone have a strong
how about a
opinion?
negative? How about a negative as a need, which is not to perch it, and then a want is embedding 25%. Because we don't know that there's not going to be some bedrock or something, you know, that it's running on in the stream bed there.
How are these emergency certifications implemented in the field? I mean, do they have to have a survey company on site or a company with survey grade equipment to get the elevations, the inverts and the outverts correct? Or are they just sort of eyeballing it and they're just replacing it in kind based on the way it looks? You know, I feel like that's where I want to make sure it's at the very bottom level, it's replaced in kind with the right inverts.
I'm not sure. And that the email that we got about it, that was from Conley Service Inc. I'm not sure what that company is.
Okay.
But what do you guys think about that as the need want having not to perch it, and ideally suggestion to what was the word?
Embed 25%.
25%.
Yeah. Mitch, does that all sound reasonable when communicating with them, trying to figure that out and then issuing it?
Yeah, I think so. So we're saying confirm the size, make sure it's same size or bigger.
Yeah.
Erosion controls. Should we be specific?
I mean, I think it would be good to know what kind of erosion control, like, you know, like they should tell us what kind of erosion control they're going to use, but like,
yeah,
we should say you need some kind of erosion control.
Right.
And then embedded 25%, was that a need or a want?
That was a want. I think the need was make sure it's not perched.
Okay.
So that water, you know, it's not, the bottom of the culvert isn't above the surface of the ground.
Yeah.
The bank, or not the bank,
It's gonna happen though if the culvert's undersized, it's inevitable.
Yeah. I guess that's the good thing about having it embedded 25% is that then it cuts down a little.
Dugout.
It's still going through it.
Prevents the dugout in front there and then eventual undermining.
Yeah. And then also, I guess, recommending following the stream crossing standards. Maybe you could send the like stream crossing standards, like a manual.
Yeah, there's a
That-
PDF that you can get it online. You could just send a link.
Yeah.
Sounds like we should, oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm done.
I was just gonna say, sounds like we should have this list to send along generally when, like when there's a culvert emergency. Like the stuff we just talked about, maybe add to it, but it'd be good to save this as like a canned response to verify in these situations in the future.
Mm,
As far as
Mhm.
burying the culvert versus in the same size, oversized, that kind of thing. I mean, we could adjust it, but
yeah. So I'm looking at the stream crossing standards PDF right now, and about the embedment, it says all culverts should be embedded a minimum of 2 feet and round pipe culverts at least 25%. If pipe culverts cannot be embedded this deep, then they should not be used.
That's
Wow.
when you bring in the arch, the like
Yeah.
steel arch culverts or box culverts or bridge.
Okay, Mitch, I just wanted to check again. Were we clear enough on all that? I know.
Yeah,
we're
I
making
got it.
you do those
Yeah.
work. Okay. All right. So we don't have to do anything on that one right now then, because Mitch will be following up and then approving it or not, I guess. And then we'll ratify it at the next one, possibly after the work is done. Okay. I don't know where my agenda is. Okay, so that was the last emergency. Is that correct, Mitch?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and do we have any enforcement updates or project monitoring stuff?
I drove by 15 Greenfield, which is the parking lot, and the trees are out and erosion controls are still there. They haven't washed out, so that's
Mhm.
good. That's
Good.
it.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually happened to go past there this past weekend, and I didn't stop, but I was looking and I saw it looked like all the erosion control stuff was there. So
Yeah, I just did a drive by. I didn't want to, they're doing all the construction, so
okay,
good staking
So
and
that-
burying.
yeah. All right, Mitch, do you have anything else?
nope,
that
that's it.
All right. Anyone else have anything?
I have a quick thing, but can you hold on while I go grab it really quick?
Sure.
2 seconds.
I hope it's a poster.
Mm.
Like you do in like high school, like gluing things on a poster.
Well, let's see.
So I went to a conference yesterday. It was the Northeast Partners for Amphibian and Reptile Conservation, or NEPARC. And there were these, when I'm in the turtle working group and the vernal pool working group, and one of the things in the turtle working group that came up was there are these like brochures on protecting Northeast turtles and their habitat. It's a guide for suburban and urban landowners. It's like a informational pamphlet. I have some hard copies, but I was going to get an electronic copy, and they were, like, oh, just distribute it, to where whoever is interested. And I thought this would be a good thing for commissions, I think, to hand out to interested landowners who call and say, I don't know, we've had some applicants that have asked about wildlife habitat and turtle conservation. Maybe they're in wood turtle habitat, they're along the river, they're 300 feet from the river, it's outside of our jurisdiction, they just care. Just a little informational pamphlet on things that they could do to increase habitat. If I can get an electronic copy, would that be something that the commission would want to have kind of on record so that we could just share that with interested applicants?
Yeah,
think
keep
that'd
it
be
on the
great,
drive,
yeah.
ready to
I
send.
would take it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. I'll reach out to Lori Erb and see if I can get an electronic copy. I don't know why they gave me like 6 hard copies. I feel like nowadays electronic copies are better. And I tried to catch up with her after she scooted out. So I'll get in touch with you, Mitch, about that later. That's all I've got.
Yeah, I have a
Nice.
turtle poster people ask about.
Oh, I miss
Good to have
those.
info.
I wish they had more of those. I used to give them out on construction sites when I would do employee education programs, and they don't, Natural Heritage stopped making those. So you should hang on to that because it's a relic.
I actually thought of one other thing, another thing for Mitch to do. I was just wondering if you could reach out to the mayor's office to ask if anyone has actually applied to be on the Conservation Commission. Because, I'm not sure whether people have applied and they just haven't gotten around to appointing anyone yet, or if no one has applied and we really need to like ramp up efforts to like get people to apply.
Mhm.
I just don't know where we are, so it'd be good to know.
Yeah, I'll reach out.
I mean, it should just be a quick email like, oh, has
Right.
anyone applied? Hopefully. I don't know.
Might be
Hopefully
something people just
there's
aren't
a big
aware of,
queue.
that there's a vacancy.
Yeah, or people are like, oh, I'm not a scientist, I can't do that. So,
Mm.
it could be
Or maybe there's
intimidating too.
a Greenfield recorder thing we could do to sort
Yeah,
of
well, I have
encourage.
ideas. Yeah, like a letter to the editor,
Yeah.
things like that we could do. But if there's already like 2 people who have applied and the mayor is just like hasn't appointed anyone
Mhm.
yet, then I don't want to go through all that trouble, So
Yeah.
I figured it'd be good to find out first.
Yeah, I think
Good point.
the if you do write the letter and then sending it to like I'm sure you've already thought of this, but like Green and Greenfield and the other commissions and groups that have
Yeah.
potentially
I have-
interested members.
I have sent an email to Green and Greenfield already and asked if anyone would. I mean, no one replied, but I don't need anyone to reply to me. I just need them to contact the mayor. So,
Right. They,
yeah.
And we're on MACC already, right?
I think they post like conservation agent positions,
it's
but
Right.
volunteer, not paid.
yeah, and you have to live in Greenfield, so it doesn't really do us any good to advertise like to the whole state. And if you're not on a conservation commission, you're probably not going to be looking at their website.
What about UMass, or, some people who go to UMass might live in Greenfield, or GCC, getting a student.
I thought
GCC is
of
a good
that
idea.
too. Yeah, GCC. So I don't know. Hopefully Mitch can find out by our next meeting, and then Mitch, maybe at our next meeting, you could put something on the agenda about like, something about recruiting new members or whatever, and we can have
Yeah,
a
we can
discussion about that.
brainstorm.
And then you can either tell us, oh, the mayor is actually going to be appointing someone in a month, or no one has applied, and then we'll have to figure it out.
There's some very biodegradable posters down by the river, one of those nice off of Murphy Park there. Do you want to protect this resource?
Yeah.
Join the commission.
What about even like the Greenfield Market? Like just a
Bulletin
paper.
board stuff.
Yeah.
On the bulletin board, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. A lot of hippies go down there.
Yeah.
No.
New library to print stuff in. So
Posted at the new library, maybe. I don't know if they have a
yeah.
community bulletin board.
Yeah. They probably have a section of ecological related books and materials where you could maybe, I don't know, is that illegal in the library world to post notices, even if it's for
Just
civil service?
Go through all the books and put a piece of paper in
A
them.
little,
All the ones about
Yeah.
like turtles and amphibians. And
oh,
I love it.
probably breaking a cardinal rule there, but yeah, we should try.
This is a think tank. I love it.
All right, well, that's what we'll do at our next meeting. We'll do all this
Okay.
again.
Yeah, I gotta run, so. that's
Okay,
good.
yep. So anyone might make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
second
second
it.
that. Oh,
I
sorry.
beat you to it.
I was,
I never
sorry.
second things, so.
I
That'd
know.
be
I-
great.
All right, we'll do it. Just do a roll call vote real quick. Fletcher,
All right,
Kristen,
Aye.
I'm also an aye. All right, so we are adjourned at 8:05 p.m.
I was so
Okay.
nervous. This was going to be a long meeting. I thought we were going to have a ton of emergency certifications after hearing Deerfield had so many.